So I think rather than making fun of Kamala Harris's hyena laugh or how Tim Walz is really a very strange person and has very, very strange agendas. Okay, we can attack the agendas, but let's. I think it doesn't help to attack them personally. That's kind of the left's strategy. And I think what we need to do is to attack what they've done because right now, again, remember, Kamala Harris is the vice president. She's been part of the 4 years of the Joe Biden administration. And we need to remember the horribly embarrassing things that they've been allowed to do. One of those at the very beginning or near the beginning was the retreat from Afghanistan, the absolutely shameful retreat from Afghanistan that led to the deaths of 13 soldiers, American soldiers, um, and also led to one of the most incredible blunders that I have ever heard of. I mean, really incredible that the U.S. instead of bringing in their retreat, instead of bringing their military supplies, their tanks, their trucks, their helicopters, they left them for the Taliban. Here's a tweet that I saw recently. This is from Mustache. I don't know who he is, but I thought this was a pretty interesting look as you see, Humvees, you see helicopters, you see this huge parade of materials um, from the Taliban. So this is a group of extremists in Afghanistan, extreme Muslims who have been known to be terrorists. Now, I think they're not always necessarily as bad as people make them out to be. I think there's you know, one of the US's propagandized, stories of the last 20 years has been Muslim extremism and trying to make it so that we go to war in the Middle East. And well, it worked for a long time. And so I think, a lot of the time these people just do want to be left alone and to be left in peace to a certain extent. Now, I think you also have some very bad Taliban members, et cetera. Whatever you believe of them, it doesn't really matter to me. But to leave these billions and billions of dollars of war materials, tanks and trucks and helicopters, ammunition, et cetera, in the hands of people who are extremists and who could possibly be terrorists, is one of the most insanely bizarre things I've ever seen in my life, and I think we don't talk about it enough. It's not just that they left Afghanistan without first of all, without getting the people out. They just kind of said, "Hey, overnight, hey, we're leaving. Bye. Everyone get on a plane." They didn't even attempt to get their stuff out. They just gave it up. Just here you go, guys. But you hear these stories all the time of Obama giving Iran what I forget how much it was, $600 million or something like that in some deal to try to get their uranium. I don't even remember. I mean, I know people hear these stories all the time, but you see that there's not common sense, or either they're just stupid, possible, or there is an agenda to actually make sure that these things don't go away. We need to have conflict. We need to have war. We need to always have that military industrial complex being supplied with reasons to pump out machinery and rockets and bullets that cost billions and trillions of dollars. And it's a sham. It's an absolute shame. And if there's any one reason why I will vote for Donald Trump, it's because he did his best, I truly believe, in trying to get out of these conflicts and really trying to say, hey, look, this is not our problem. We have our own problems. I want to fix the economy in the US, et cetera. Now, again, Trump's got plenty of problems, and I don't agree with everything he does or says, but trying to get America out of war is a very good thing. And it's something that my dad talks about all the time. That it's like, we always focus on abortion, which is, of course, a huge issue. It is a murder of innocent children. But what about the murder of innocents in the Middle East or Ukraine or, wherever else it's going to be? The US has been murdering people through, unjustified wars for the last 60 years or longer, depends on your point of view. And that's deeply immoral. War is deeply immoral. And even if you're just trying to be the world police, who gives you that right? Why do you think you deserve to go in and say, okay, these two countries are fighting each other? And when you see the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin, Putin gave a 30-minute description of why they invaded Ukraine. And it's really complicated. I mean, it's really complicated. I mean, how many people in America understand the issues of, the borders of Ukraine and Russia that have been going on for 1,000 years? And I think that's the issue, that America has this, this weird arrogance. Like, and again, it started with the nuclear bombs, right? They dropped nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, not to just get Japan out of the war, but to show, hey, look, now we're the daddy of the world. You listen to us, or we'll blow you up. And yeah, okay, Russia eventually got nuclear weapons as well because of information leaked from the US, which, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like giving that information to communists, but you understand why they did it. They did it because they didn't want the US to be the only ones, because then you'd have just this kind of, unfair hierarchy of power. But you still have it in many ways. I mean, the US, look at how the US controls Germany. The US tells them what to do. We just talked about the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline. I mean, that doesn't help Germany. That's terrible for Germany. But their allies came in and blew it up because they wanted to have some excuse for going to war, a proxy war with Ukraine and Russia, because we want money and we want control. We want power. And I like that Trump sincerely seems to want out of that. That's a big deal, really big deal. And I know, again, there are plenty of people who don't like him. Fine. I don't like him either. I think he's an extremely flawed person. But if he's trying to get out of war, while you see the other side right now actively trying to be in war, even though they're like, "Oh, I haven't started a war in my," yeah. What do you think about Ukraine? What do you think right now with Israel and Hamas, et cetera? We're funding them. So you're just saying, yeah, we're not in war. Yeah, yeah, okay. But if you're giving billions and billions of dollars to these countries, even if they're our allies, eventually, if Israel is being actually invaded, okay, yeah, I get it. They're our allies. We should help them. Fair enough. So if Iran goes and attacks them, and okay, I think that's probably fair, because that would be a defensive war. But boy, you got to be careful with this stuff, because it's really complicated. The Gaza Strip is not a simple issue. It's not just like, oh yeah. Now, of course, what happened on October 7th was a simple issue, and I think that it was horrible. It's an awful thing that happened, and I understand why Israel, struck back. But eventually, you got to say, okay, fine, then that's their problem. The U.S. Why is the U.S. giving billions of dollars to it? It's bizarre, really bizarre. And I think we need to, again, pray for world peace, because in the end, that's all that's going to solve anything, is God's help. Because men are flawed. Men will always go to war. They need war because the people at the top are generally psychopaths. That's typically how you get to the top, especially, in democracies. You have to stab people in the back. You can't be a nice guy. And I don't think Donald Trump's a nice guy. But honestly, if he's going to try to get out of war at least a little bit more than Kamala Harris, who surely is not going to be sending less money to Ukraine anytime soon, he's got my vote. Either way, God help us all.